Have you ever wondered if there's a wine out there with, well, a soul as old as time, maybe a flavor as bold as nature itself, and maybe even some surprising benefits beyond just, enjoyment?
Uh-huh.
Today, we're not just tasting, we're embarking on a bit of an adventure, really,
Yeah.
into the fascinating world of elderberry wine.
Right.
We want to uncover why this sort of rustic gem is finally having its moment. It's a truly unique alternative to what you usually find on the shelves.
And that's precisely the journey this deep dive will take us on. We've pulled some incredible insights from the Elderberry Wine Guide by Wineful Living.
Okay.
Our goal today is to extract the most important nuggets about this remarkable fruit-forward beverage. We'll explore everything from its surprisingly complex flavor profile, its potential wellness benefits, right down to how genuinely accessible it is to craft right in your own home.
Absolutely. Think of this as your, let's say, expedited tour to becoming genuinely knowledgeable about elderberry wine.
Yeah, a shortcut.
Exactly. Whether you're just curious for your very first sip, or maybe you're an experienced homebrewing enthusiast looking for your next project,
Right.
you're going to discover this blend of flavor complexity
Mm,
and those potential wellness benefits that, well, truly set elderberry wine apart.
definitely.
So let's start with the basics then. What exactly is elderberry wine? It sounds straightforward, but I guess it's distinct.
It is. It's a rich, fruit-forward wine, but it's made not from grapes, but from the small, dark berries of the elderberry bush, specifically the Sambucus variety.
Oh, okay. Sambucus.
Yes, and you'll immediately notice its color intensely deep purple, and it has this wonderfully earthy aroma, too.
Earthy. Interesting.
Yeah, and the true magic of elderberry wine lies in its, what I'd call paradoxical concentration.
Paradoxical concentration. What do you mean by that?
Well, unlike grapes, elderberries yield less juice, but that scarcity creates this explosion of flavor. It makes every sip intensely bold and deeply nuanced.
I see.
It's a concentration you don't easily find in other fruit wines. And this flavor is part of why it's been such a beloved homemade tradition across Europe and North America for centuries.
Right. So it's got history.
Oh, absolutely. And the process itself, harvesting, carefully destemming, crushing the berries, letting fermentation do its magic, has remained largely unchanged, which makes it incredibly accessible for anyone wanting to try their hand at winemaking.
That concept of paradoxical concentration is really intriguing. So if it's that concentrated, does that imply it's almost like too intense for some palates? Or does that concentration allow for more versatility?
That's a great question. It definitely leans into versatility. While it is bold, its intensity isn't really overwhelming. It's more of a richness that opens up a lot of possibilities.
Okay.
You can absolutely enjoy it neat, or it can even form the base for some really fantastic cocktails.
Okay. Speaking of enjoying it, let's talk about the taste journey.
Yeah.
For someone maybe more accustomed to grape wines, how does that taste journey unfold? Is it immediately familiar or is it something quite different?
It definitely offers a unique experience. It's a departure from traditional grape wines, yeah, but maybe with echoes you might find comforting.
Okay.
You'll likely get an initial kick of tartness first.
Tartness, right?
Then it sort of smooths out into this rich mix of dark fruits, imagine juicy blackberries, maybe a whisper of black currants, and those deep, almost jammy cherry flavors.
Interesting. So where does it sit, like, on the spectrum?
It sits somewhere fascinating, almost like a cross between a rich blackberry wine and perhaps a light-bodied red wine.
Okay. And building on that complexity, are there other subtle notes that emerge? You mentioned earthy before.
Yeah.
And how does the flavor evolve over time? Does it change much?
Oh, absolutely. You'll often find those subtle, earthy undertones, yes, and sometimes even a hint of spiciness that adds real nuance.
Spice. Okay.
And the evolution is remarkable. Freshly made batches will be quite vibrant and tart, as I said, but aged versions, they mellow considerably, they become smoother, more balanced.
So aging is key.
Very much so. And this also raises an important point. The sweetness levels vary dramatically based on how much sugar is added during production.
Right.
So whether you prefer something notably sweet, to balance that initial tartness, or maybe a drier, more natural profile, there's probably an elderberry wine out there that will resonate with your preference.
Okay. Beyond the flavor then, many people are curious about this potential wellness angle with elderberries in general. What did the guide say about that in relation to the wine?
Right. Well, the real aha moment with elderberry wine is how that sort of ancient wisdom about its immune-boosting properties, finds a surprising modern echo.
Hmm,
Now, it's certainly not a replacement for your daily vitamins, let's be clear.
of course.
But elderberry wine does retain many of the beneficial compounds found in the fresh berries.
Hmm.
Elderberries are packed with anthocyanins. Those are the vibrant purple pigments, essentially, but they're also superpowered antioxidants.
Antioxidants, right, like blueberries.
Exactly. They help clean up the bad stuff in your body, protecting your cells from oxidative stress.
So while it offers these potential benefits,
Mhm.
we're definitely not suggesting replacing your vitamins with a bottle, right? What's the realistic takeaway here for listeners?
Precisely. Moderation is absolutely key due to the alcohol content, just like with any wine.
Mm-hmm.
But historically, traditional folk medicine has valued elderberries for centuries for their potential to support the immune system, especially during, say, seasonal challenges.
Right, like colds and flu season.
Exactly. And the interesting thing is the fermentation process actually preserves many of these beneficial compounds, so you're not losing everything when it turns into wine.
Okay.
Many home winemakers actually craft elderberry wines specifically as part of their seasonal wellness routine. They might enjoy small amounts as an alternative to something like elderberry syrup or tea.
Ah, I see. Sort of a traditional tonic almost.
Kinda, yeah. It's about a holistic approach, not a cure-all.
Got it. Okay, let's unpack this for the aspiring home growers out there.
Yeah.
If I've just picked my first batch of elderberries, what's the very first mistake I'm likely to make, and how do I avoid it? And more broadly, how straightforward is making elderberry wine at home for a beginner?
Good question. A common first mistake is probably underestimating the power of the stems.
The stems.
Yes. You absolutely must carefully remove all the stems from the berries before you start. They contain compounds that can cause, well, digestive upset.
Oh, right. Good tip.
Definitely. But honestly, setting that aside, making elderberry wine is surprisingly straightforward, even for beginners.
Really?
Yeah. You'll need about 3 pounds of fresh or frozen elderberries, maybe 2 to 3 pounds of sugar, enough water to make up a gallon of mixture, and just a single packet of wine yeast. That's it for the basics.
Wow, that sounds incredibly accessible. Walk us through the basic steps then. How does it actually work?
Okay, the simple steps really highlight its accessibility. You start by crushing the berries, then you add your sugar and water. Bring that mixture to a simmer for about 10 minutes, and it's crucial here, not a boil. Boiling can strip away some of those delicate flavors and potentially the beneficial compounds too.
Simmer, not boil. Got it.
Right. Once it cools down to room temperature, you add your wine yeast.
Just sprinkle it in.
Pretty much, yeah. After the yeast is added, you transfer it to a sterilized fermentation vessel that has an airlock.
Ah, the airlock. That's important.
Absolutely crucial. That little piece of equipment lets the fermentation gases escape safely while keeping airborne contaminants out. Protects your precious batch.
Okay.
The fermentation process usually takes about 3 to 6 weeks, basically until the bubbling stops.
Right.
And then comes the patience part, aging. You really should aim for at least 6 months for optimal flavor development. And it can continue to improve for a year or even more.
6 months minimum.
Wow. Patience truly rewards a better tasting final product here.
Now, for maybe the most important essential tip for success in any home winemaking, and believe me, I learned this one the hard way. Absolute cleanliness is everything. You have to sterilize all your jars, your lids, your bottles, everything with a food-grade sanitizer.
Absolutely critical.
Trust me, one tiny oversight can introduce unwanted bacteria that will compete with your wine yeast and just ruin your entire batch. Those extra minutes spent sanitizing are truly worth it.
That's such a key point. And building on that crucial point of cleanliness, another key to success is to always taste test your wine before bottling. Assess its development.
Okay, case testing.
Yeah. If it's maybe too tart for your liking, you can back sweeten it. That just means adding a simple sugar solution.
Oh.
But just be aware, adding more sugar might restart fermentation unless you use a stabilizer. That's important if you want a consistent final product without exploding bottles.
Right. Good point.
And when you do bottle, try to minimize contact with oxygen. Using a siphoning tube is the way to go. It prevents spoilage.
You're siphoning. Okay.
Finally, proper storage is vital. Keep your bottled elderberry wine in a cool, dark place. Think basement or a wine cooler if you have one.
And the aging. You mentioned 6 months minimum.
Yeah, aging isn't just about waiting. It's like letting all the flavors in the wine have a long, slow conversation until they really understand each other and blend into something smoother, more refined.
Nice analogy.
The flavor complexity genuinely continues to develop beautifully when aged for anywhere from 3 to 12 months, or honestly even longer.
Okay. So for those of us, maybe myself included, who prefer to buy rather than DIY,
Mm-hmm.
finding elderberry wine seems a different than just grabbing a bottle at the grocery store. Where
Yeah.
should someone start their search?
That's true. You won't usually find it next to the mainstream stuff. You'll generally look for smaller producers, maybe directly through their websites.
Okay.
Or check out local farmers markets. Sometimes specialty online wine retailers that focus on natural or organic wines will carry it.
Ah, online retailers.
Yeah, you'll often find elderberry options, especially during the fall and winter months, following the harvest season.
Makes sense.
It's typically found at boutique wineries that specialize in fruit wines or maybe from farm-based operations.
Right.
And if you're truly seeking the best, keep an eye out for family-owned operations that have been crafting elderberry wine for generations. They often have the most refined recipes and techniques passed down through the years.
Generations. Wow. Okay,
Yeah.
good tip. So once you have your bottle of elderberry wine, let's talk about serving it to unleash its full potential. Does it have a specific optimal temperature like other wines?
It does. It really shows its best personality when served at a cool room temperature, or maybe just slightly chilled, ideally around 55 to 60 degrees Fahrenheit, or about 13 to 15 Celsius.
So not ice cold.
Definitely not. If it's too cold, you might miss those nuanced flavor notes that make it so special.
Okay, and what about food pairings? You mentioned it has body.
Yeah, and here's a fun fact. It actually has enough body and structure to stand up to food pairings you might typically reserve for red wines.
Really?
Yeah.
That is surprising. So what exact pairings would you recommend then to make those flavors sing?
Well, it goes wonderfully with dark chocolate desserts. The wine's fruit notes just come alive, and they complement the earthy undertones beautifully.
Chocolate, yum.
For cheeses, reach for aged varieties with some sharpness. Think aged cheddar, maybe Gouda, or even blue cheeses. They create a lovely contrast.
Okay, aged cheeses.
And during fall and winter gatherings, it's fantastic on the holiday table, especially with game meats or dishes featuring mushroom.
Game meats, interesting.
Oh, yeah. And for something really special, try using it as a base for mulled wine during cold weather.
Oh, like a spiced wine.
Exactly. The spices blend beautifully with its natural flavor profile. It creates this warming treat that's just perfect for cozy evenings.
That sounds absolutely perfect for winter. So we've really journeyed quite a bit here, from elderberry wine's unique character and that paradoxical concentration.
Mm-hmm.
We explored its potential wellness benefits, rooted in ancient wisdom, and even walked through the satisfying and, well, surprisingly accessible process of making it yourself.
Yeah.
It really does offer a distinct and rewarding experience compared to your typical commercial wine offerings, doesn't it?
It really does. And that's the beauty of elderberry wine. Its accessibility is remarkable. Like we said, requires only berries, sugar, yeast, and a bit of time.
Right.
So maybe a final thought for you to mull over. If you're looking for something beyond the usual wine options, what new fruit-forward beverage might be your next seasonal favorite? Something that connects you to both nature's goodness and, centuries of tradition.